I'll go ahead and get us started. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Maria Marshall. I'm the director of the North Central Regional Center for Rural Development. We're doing a little bit of a different webinar today. Welcome to the North Central Region Outdoor Tourism Listening Session. So we're looking forward to doing something just a little bit different as our monthly webinar with Gwynn, Stewart, and Xinyi Qian. And I'm probably mispronounced your name, Xinyi, so sorry. But welcome, and as you'll see, we'll talk a little bit about outdoor tourism, extension, and do some breakout room discussions, and then come back together. So I'm looking forward to all the great info we're going to get today and this afternoon on outdoor recreation. And I just a plug for NCRCRD. Gwynn, I think you can go to the next webinar, the next slide, not the next webinar. I guess let me start by talking a little bit about NCRCRD. Hopefully if you're on this webinar, you've probably been on our webinars before, our monthly webinar series, but just a little bit of a background. The NCRCRD does have three key themes that we work on. It's creating resilient communities, developing leadership and civic engagement, and promoting community health and wellness. And so if you ever wonder about the different diverse topics that we talk about and the different ways that we try to talk about topics, it's because we really want to think about rural development in a holistic way. And we use these three themes to guide what we do. And we're hoping that as each of you comes into the webinars, looks at our data sets, looks to put in a small grant project, that you see yourselves in the work that's reflected in the center. And so that's why we have these three themes, and that's why we work on the diverse topics and try to lift up the work in the North Central region on these various diverse topics around rural development. And I wanted to put in a plug for outdoor recreation because we worked with the outdoor recreation team on our NCR Stat baseline survey. So if you're really interested in the topic, and I'm assuming you're here because you are, there are actually questions in the NCR Stat 2024 baseline survey focused on outdoor recreation. And then actually it's part of our May webinar. That's coming up in May, that talks about the baseline survey with along with our sister centers who came along and also collected data for the Northeast region and the Southern region. So just a little plug for what's coming up in our May webinar. I think we can go ahead to talk about the next webinars. We have it's 3 new webinars to talk to you about. So next webinar is April 23rd. It's the Director's Experience Operating a Rural Child Care Center in Indiana. And that is a webinar by Jennifer Finders, who was awarded a small grant. So we look forward to seeing and highlighting the outcomes from that small grant activity. And then 2 of our NCRCRD great staff members, Michael Wilcox and Susanna Bednarik, will be doing a webinar along co-hosted by the Community Development Society, and that's looking at community well-being and quality of life focus on Indiana. So we would encourage you to attend that one. And our final webinar is all of the regional rural development centers will be presenting for NACDEP on April 22nd. So a lot of activities. Hopefully you have some time, an hour here or there, to either join us live or I'm sure the webinars will be recorded to watch them later. And with that, I will hand it over, I believe, to Xinyi to start off on our great webinar today.
Well, thank you so much, Maria. Good afternoon, everybody. It was great to see a few familiar faces and even more new colleagues. Thank you for taking the time to join the listening session today. And a big thank you to NCRCRD for hosting and providing comprehensive support of this listening session. And so I just want to share a very brief introduction of the National Extension Tourism Network. And as you can see on the slide, it lays out, the mission of NET. All right, we are in extension. We cannot avoid acronym. And the purpose of the National Extension Tourism Network is really to get together colleagues from land grant, which is extension, and also sea grant to support community tourism development, sustainable tourism, outdoor recreation, agritourism, so on and so forth. In a larger picture of community economic development, but also ecological, environmental stewardship, and the social cultural well-being of our communities. And if we really think about these, they are the three pillars of sustainability, right? So really defining sustainability in a very wholesome, comprehensive way. And so internally, we support colleagues across the country, sharing information, resources, and also we host a conference once every 2 years. And this year's 2025 in early October, the conference will take place in Manchester, New Hampshire. So giving the conference a shout out. And also we also pour resources to ultimately support the work that we do in communities so that communities can directly benefit from extension's work and the resources we can afford. And so this is Net. And once again, thank you for taking the time to join us today. Super curious to hear what are we going to find out today. And with that, I will pass it on to Gwynn to officially kick us off.
Thank you, Xinyi, and thank you, Maria. I just also want to make a note of Susanna from the North Central region. She has been a part of our planning team, and so Xinyi and Susanna and I will be leading the breakout rooms in just a few moments. We want to thank today's hosts, and our goal for today is to explore how Extension can support this collaboration and grow partnerships around the outdoor tourism sector. We want to just take you briefly through some overview slides of outdoor tourism and recreation areas. You know, more than a $1.2 trillion industry that creates jobs, builds local businesses, and really works to also improve mental and physical health for those who take part, creates rural resiliency, especially for communities that are smaller and can focus in on their natural assets and other opportunities for outdoor recreation and tourism. Also helps us, as Xinyi mentioned, from a sustainability management perspective to prioritize conservation and the health of our public waters and lands. From a regional perspective, which is the reason that we're here today, is to really look at this North Central region and have some conversations with you on what's happening in our multi-state region. You can see that a percent of the state economy and revenue by each state is noted. Close to 125 billion with a B dollars in revenue for our region. So this is something that we want to pay attention to. It's a sector that's important to each of our state economies. From a perspective on what we're thinking related to extension is that this area really does quite well match all of the major components of the transdisciplinary work that we do in extension, from the ag and natural resources areas to community development, from an economic development engine, from family and consumer sciences, as I mentioned a moment ago, about the ability to impact positively physical and mental well-being through outdoor activities and getting active. And then also from the youth development, it's a valuable tool for outdoor education and a lot of the work that some of our 4-H folks in youth development work on. And we wanted also just to share that there has been this recreation economies USDA Interagency Memorandum of Understanding that has been established since 2002, in which the USDA Rural Development and NIFA and the U.S. Forest Service signed this Memorandum of Understanding to really focus on the recreation economies, to collaborate and coordinate, and then really jointly deliver technical assistance and training opportunities across the nation, and develop an action plan for public reporting of their work together. So this is really a brief overview of outdoor tourism and the areas that we want to talk with you more about today. We're not going to talk too long. We really are here to hear from you. It is a listening session. But we really want to hear from you on who's engaged in this outdoor recreation area, what activities in your extension work from the day-to-day are you working on, who is interested, but maybe needs more information. You may also be here. And then also who has ideas or opportunities. These are some of the things that we want to talk through as we begin the listening session. A few ground rules for the breakout sessions that you can see here. You know, we hope you'll be present, share the air, everybody gets to participate, and we want to explore interests, not necessarily positions, and make our ideas tangible. And we're going to, as we break out into these rooms, look at these 5 questions. And so each room will have a leader to kind of walk you through this process. And then when we are finished with the conversation, we'll join back together and do a quick report out. We do thank you for your time today. Time is something that we don't all get more of. So we appreciate you taking time and attention to talk with us about what's happening in extension and outdoor tourism in your area. And so I know that folks will be monitoring the chat. If for some reason you would, get knocked out, there'll be someone in the main room who can put you back in a breakout. And we'll see you back here in a few minutes after you are in your conversations, and we'll gather back for a final group. Okay, Shelley, I think is going to put us in our groups. You'll notice in the chat there are some links to the rooms. If you can be sure to copy that link, and we'll have you on a whiteboard and you'll be sharing on that, and Susanna will help us. We'll see you all here in a few minutes. We're going to do a quick recap of the breakout rooms and share out from the sessions. Xinyi, do you want to kick us off from your room?
All right, so I will try, and the folks in my breakout room, if I misrepresent or misspeak, please speak up to correct me. So thank you. First question, what is it like to work right now? And we have folks with a wide variety of experiences, which is really fascinating. For example, one person is currently working on the county comprehensive plan, and outdoor tourism is a big part of it. So trying to figure that out. And we also have someone who's been working on agritourism in Canada and thinks that farmers should add outdoor tourism into their offering. And I will do my best to refrain from sharing any of my personal opinion. That's not the point here. And we also have folks from Illinois. Let me see, it's a long note, but anyhow, the recurring theme is getting local leaders to think in a disciplined and organized way in terms of sustainable tourism development. And I know that we don't have all that much time, and we have 5 questions, so I'll try to be brief. And regarding the second question, in terms of opportunities, the most prominent theme is really partnership and a collaboration, both internally within extension, it's a huge place, and then also externally with the industry, like destination management organizations and with communities. And then also more effectively bring the programs and the resources extension does have to offer to those who really need it. And the third question, challenge and worries. Again, local leaders, get them to think strategically and get them to really value and see the potential of tourism in general, which also includes outdoor tourism. And another challenge is lodging, funding and lodging, although they are 2 separate issues, but these 2 are mentioned, both of them. And fourth question, actions you would like to pursue collectively. One is regional collaboration, and then is interacting with and perhaps even integrating agritourism as a part of perhaps the portfolio of outdoor tourism offerings. And then the last question, which is questions you have for admin and funding leaders. One is, the message, do not underestimate the potential for outdoor tourism. And second is really look at the economic impact of tourism, including outdoor tourism. And a third is a very interesting idea, which is, FAM tour, familiarization tours, to get local leaders and admin funding leaders to see the value of tourism, including outdoor tourism. So with that, I will pass it on to the next group.
Zuzana, do you want to go next? Thank you, Xinyi. Very nice.
Yes, sure. All right, where is it? So I have a few notes here in terms of the first question. Okay, it's difficult to find someone to step outside and of their specialty in extension to take this on. So it's from Kansas. Because of our historic focus on production agriculture, it is difficult to find someone to step outside of their specialty in extension to take this on. Utilizing outdoor recreation as an economic development tool. And we also have here that it's very challenging to find a good workforce for marina industry, and helping inform about best practices that would promote both marina industry would help. The second question is about opportunities. Working with agriculture producers to consider destination tourism might be one of the opportunities. Consistent and unique opportunity that Extension presents is to bring the most accurate current scientific information from the universities to outdoor tourism partners. And one more is supporting existing organizations working in trials. Moving to the third question, the lack of collaboration with other educators who might be able to collaborate on the work is something that is challenging. Also, the outdoor tourism and recreation receives less of priority, which is one of additional worries. And what we have here, as our work shifts from delivering curriculum to other technical assistance, so much of this is placed and context-based. It is hard to bring disparate groups in disparate states doing disparate work together to design tailorable resources. So page number 4, what actions would you like to pursue collectively? Work regionally to develop tourism trails throughout the North Central region. Sounds great. We also have here creating a directory of educators and their specific areas of expertise and share with other groups. Ohio now has a World Heritage Site. Training for the businesses in this region might be helpful. Training like customer service, knowing where else to send visitors, etc. And the final question, the messages we want to hear from administrative and funding leaders. There is one question, how is collaboration happening across the region? What are the top 3 priorities of administrative leadership when they think of outdoor tourism? And the last one we have here is, with current changes in funding scenario, does it impact tourism programs? If yes, to what extent would tourism programs get impacted or influenced? So this is also a great question. And with that, I would pass to Gwynn for the final
Thanks,
last.
Susanna. So I'm just going to briefly recap ours. We had a lot of the same themes from the other two rooms. Some good discussion around agritourism. Some of the folks in our rooms aren't necessarily in extension from an appointment perspective, but working in the agritourism around thinking about the legal ramifications or liability issues. Some folks in Michigan, obviously thinking about first impressions and quality of life and placemaking. Michael shared from CRD some grant resources and opportunities, as well as programs that are happening there. Then we had some folks from outside of North Central and the Northeastern region sharing good conversations around the need for capacity building, especially in rural communities. Some conversations around entrepreneurism and small business. So a lot of the same things from facilities and placemaking, ensuring the amenities are in place, and a lot of opportunities to partner, and some links shared on different programs and connecting people up. So thank you all for sharing and being part of the listening. And I think Xinyi is going to wrap us up with one final question here.
Thank you, Gwynn, and thank you for everybody in terms of, sharing back out. And so the last question that we have we call it a shared visioning. And the question is, a year from now, when we do a call like this one to discuss what is happening in outdoor tourism in extension in the North Central region, what do you hope that we will be able to share? It's a vision for the future, and I do realize the hope and the wish may not always be the same. However, as I said in my breakout room, let's start with the big, bold moonshot one. So I will be quiet, and I really wanted to hear as many ideas as possible.
Feel free to use the chat or unmute and just share.
Yeah. I promise to be a quick typer. Well, I will throw out a couple things. One is, at least in my breakout room, regional level collaboration, and across breakout rooms, integration and at least interaction with agritourism, right? And there are other ideas, certainly. So if we move our thoughts along any of these lines, what do we want to see a year from now?
One thing I'd like to see is natural resource dependent communities, those that have been responsible for economic development through coal and gas, to really take on outdoor recreation and build that as a really important economic development opportunity.
Thanks, Myra. We're also seeing in the chat more work with tribal communities and continuing to see focus on outdoor rec and tourism, just from a funding perspective. We mentioned the MOU with USDA, that was mentioned in our chat.
I'm just going to unmute and talk. I'd love to see some more research-based data on the economic impact of some of this outdoor tourism that sometimes we've done a little bit of work. I'm just thinking in the realm of, let's say, the value of a day at the beach to someone, and I can't think of the phrase right now, but there's a terminology for it, and it's kind of this more intangible economic impact of things that are more difficult to quantify, but they're still result in a draw for someone to come to an area, or that results in ultimately economic benefit as a result of tourism.
Thank you,
Thank
Sarah.
you for- Yep.
And then also in the chat, updated data on the benefits of agritourism on local economies as well.
So definitely the things in terms of call out and more focus on outdoor recreation tourism, more partners, including tribal communities, more data, especially economic impact. Utilize community capitals framework as a way to build community capacity. Yes, that's the core tenet in Department of Community Development at Minnesota Extension.
And once again, we want to thank you all for attending, for your time today, for sharing in this listening session. We'll be compiling all of the information and sharing that out with those who've registered. We want to thank our host, the North Central Region, and also National Extension Tourism Network. And a special thanks to the Southern Rural Development Center and Ian Savage, who really gave us this model. They hosted a listening session in the Southern region, and we thought, well, we should do this in our North Central region, and that's why today's happening. So a lot of partners coming together behind the scenes to make this happen. So thank you.
And just to answer Jonathan's a question, nice to see you again, Jonathan, auto on the screen. Organizers, I would say the host is the NCRCRD, the North Central Regional Center for Rural Development, and the National Extension Tourism Network is a partner. And we modeled this listening session almost completely after the Southern Regional Rural Development Center's listening session. And as Gwynn just mentioned, Ann Savage of North Carolina Extension, also currently the vice chair of NET, did a lot of work.
Thank you both, Xinyi and Gwynn and Susanna. Susanna, sorry, I forgot to mention you earlier, so I apologize. You have been doing a lot of work on this. So thank you all for a great webinar. Hopefully you got a lot of information on the listening session. These are things that we kind of need to do on different topics for us, the North Central region, to make sure that not only us as a group, as collaborators, as colleagues, but also the NCRCRD stays abreast of the new and very topics that we need to be working on. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you at our April webinar or webinars, all the month of April, the week of the week of April 21st. We have several webinars, so we look forward to seeing you then. Again, thank you all for participating.